YouTube coders are lying to you. Here's how.
I want to start this video off with a question that if your favorite YouTubers care about their subscribers and viewers so much, why don't they ever come out and say that, hey guys, there's this company XYZ and they are doing a mass hiring in this city, in this area, on this state.
Real talk, I would not like that. The thing is that anytime a YouTuber tells you to do something, you must understand that when they tell you to do something, there is some motive behind it. Yes, obviously, he's reading this thing right here. This is from some YouTube comment. Yeah, if you really did care, you'd give us jobs, right? The problem is that if somebody says, hey, I have a job, what's the motivation? What are they getting out of it? You're being sold. Someone's making money. Now, I've only ever recommended one job so far up to this date, and I did get paid for it. He asked me if I could help him hire, and I went to college with the guy, and I was the best man at his wedding. I knew him really, really well. And to this day, they still have the person that they hired, and they said it was by far the best experience. But nonetheless, there was a motivation behind it. One, I like money. You like money? We should hang out. And two, I like JJ Prum Prum, the Micro King. I love JJ Prum Prum, the Micro King, of course. Like, I went to college with them. I like him a whole bunch. And so that's like a real thing. And so when you see these, when you see comments like this, you must understand that anytime someone who makes a living on something social says something, it's doing because they want to make money. I am very, very skeptical that people do it out of the kindness of their heart. And there probably does exist somebody that does it out of the kindness of their heart. But it's probably unlikely. At least go in with that. Hey, everybody, I would just like to help everybody out of the benevolence of myself. Sure, I could be taking $10,000 per hire, but why would I do that? This is for you guys.
So you should send your resumes to the specified email address and you will have a...
By the way, one other thing. As somebody that does do YouTubings, the reason why I don't recommend or do any sort of job posting through me as of right now is because I can't possibly vet a company good enough to know that I trust them. And that's one big reason why I don't want to do it is because I am 100% sure I could be making tens of thousands of dollars a month through hiring. But if I did that, I would be potentially sending you guys off to just horrible companies that I have no idea. And that totally breaks my own credibility. And it also is just really, it's just not positive. And so I'd rather try to find, like, I'm only ever going to do something that I'm positive about because it's terrible, right? Sending off to weirdos? Yeah. There is some weirdos out there, and I don't want to do that. Yeah, but money. I know, but it's a lose-lose in the end. I do understand what you're saying, dude. I could totally win. I could get that tech lead bag so good.
A chance at getting hired. See, they will never do it because that is not a good business decision, and they would rather sell you products and courses, and in some cases, fake hopes and dreams, and even in some cases, they may scare you into buying their products. Because that's how the YouTube coding space has become. And in this video, I hope to explain to you how YouTubers have figured out how to monetize their audience. And you might be...
By the way, dude, he's totally right about that. But hey, I gotta go to my terminal shop. I gotta order some quick coffee off the terminal really quickly.
Be a segment of their audience, whether you know it or not. So the first thing that YouTubers want you to believe is that the IT industry is a meritocracy. And by meritocracy, they mean that they have established the fact that there is such a thing called top 1% of software developers, completely made up. And
I don't know if I agree with that. Ideally, the software industry is a meritocracy. I think we would actually all prefer it to be one. That if you worked hard, you would actually get something good. Now, it's not always, but I'm just saying, ideally, that would be it. Now, obviously, his experience might be different than my experience. But ideally, I think you'd most certainly want that. But then on top of that, there is a top 1%. By the very nature, since software engineering is a skill-based thing, there does exist a top 1%, and there does exist a bottom 1%. Obviously, bottom 1%'s named as Devin. And top 1% is clearly, we don't know who this person is, but I'm sure they exist. Maybe Fireship? Is Fireship the guy? Probably. And that one guy, the Indian YouTuber, Jayatan. Jayatan's obviously top 1% here, okay? Really knows what's going on, Jayatan. Jayatan is an actual genius. Oh, is it Abdul Bari, the the guy everybody learns data structures from on the internet? Yeah. Okay, let's see where he's cooking, because I think he's going to reverse it in some sense.
Only they are the software developers who get jobs in the IT industry. And let me be the one to tell you that that is an absolute lie. There is no such thing called the top 1% of software developers, because there is no such metric to measure that.
Again, I don't think that's true. I think that anyone here, okay, here, we'll just do a quick eyeball test really quick. Anybody here, he is right. There is no metric, right? I don't have some sort of ranking. You don't have some sort of ranking. Okay, we can all agree to that. There's no like number that I can put next to you that I would know how good you are. But can we all agree on this? We've all worked with somebody who's really, really good at programming. Have you ever met somebody that is significantly better than you? So there is most certainly a 1%. You might be that person, or you're in a room full of dummies. I'm just saying there's always someone, yes, and I've also met someone who's really, really bad. Absolutely. I've met someone that was simultaneously both the best programmer I've ever met and produced the worst software I've ever seen. Could solve the hardest problems and the worst software at the exact same time. And it was outrageous. It was crazy. I've never seen someone solve such hard problems and at the same time create such a mess. It was crazy. I just could not believe it. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
See, the YouTubers always give generic advices to get the job in the industry. They always say things like, you should build projects, you should be out in public, you should create a LinkedIn network. Now, these are very generic advices, but
they are correct.
But they escape the fallback on their advice when they establish the fact that there is such a thing called top 1% of software developers. They are putting the blame on yourself. It's very subliminal. Speaking from your perspective.
So a couple things there. We got to address those couple things. First off, again, if there's software engineers, some percentage of these software engineers are going to get hired, right? Absolutely. Some percentage of these software engineers are going to get hired. And creating a LinkedIn, if you're attempting to get hired, is not a bad plan. Having some sort of posting about the things you're building, not a bad plan. People could get interested in it. Building projects instead of following tutorials, not a bad plan. You will be able to thus post stuff on these two things and potentially garner interest from other people. This is good general advice. General advice works because if 80% or if everybody does it, 80, 90, 95% of the people will experience success from it. It doesn't mean everybody will. Like if I tell you to go to bed early, wake up early, work out, eat healthy, drink lots of water, and you will be able to have a more focused life. Generally speaking, the average person who sleeps well, develops a consistent schedule, and is able to do all those things, you will feel better and you will accomplish more. Doesn't mean everybody will, but generally speaking, average advice works pretty well across groups of people. It just doesn't, it's not a guarantee. And I think that's what people miss, is that guarantees versus it works generally, right?
Let's say that you took these advices and you implemented those in your life and you still didn't get the job. At that point, you will blame yourself and not the YouTuber, because they established the fact that there is such a thing called top 1% of software developers. And you will just think to yourself that maybe you don't belong in that segment. So that is an absolute sinister way of advertising and just farming views on YouTube. See,
I do want to follow up with that one. I will say that one thing that I've learned from Carson Gross, creator of HTMX, is that he always talks about sticking around long enough. If you stick around for 1 year, you might not get hired. If you stick around for 2 years, the chances of you not getting hired has dramatically gone down. Assuming you're still doing good, you're still building stuff, you're still doing all that, at 3 years, your chance of getting hired and, changing your life goes dramatically, again, the chances of you not doing it keep going smaller and smaller and smaller, because sticking around, applying, building things, doing all that, it just generally increases the likelihood that something will work out. Sticking around where? Continuing to build, produce, post about it, update your LinkedIn, doing all those things, right? It adds up slowly.
The fact that these YouTubers always say that if you do DSA, if you study the most, if you have the highest score in your exams, then you will definitely land the job is not true. In an interview room, when somebody is sitting next to you and they have less experience than you and less knowledgeable than you, they may be more hireable in the eyes of the manager, because the manager may think that this guy who is less experienced than you, the candidate, they may cost less to the company and they can be trained on the job later, so they can have the knowledge and they can be performant on the job, overpicking you, who is most likely the most qualified person for the job. See, the IT industry is very unfair, just like the rest of the world is. But YouTubers don't want you to believe in that.
But I don't think that's unfair. If a company can choose two people and they're willing, and say one person costs $80K a year, American salaries, versus $160K a year, and they believe that they can ramp this person up in 3 months and they only need them to do a specific set of tasks that they're fine with, versus this, why wouldn't they choose it, right? This is still a meritocracy. There's nothing about this that's saying just because you're better doesn't mean you're the right fit, right? Like, I would be real talk, I would be a terrible hire if you wanted me to work on just like building some basic UI front ends, right? I would be a terrible hire. Like, you wouldn't want me. You would not want me. I would not do a good job. I would find myself super bored. I'd be slow. It wouldn't be great. Even though I am absolutely more qualified probably than other people you're attempting to get, it doesn't matter, because you're not like lining them up, right? There's real advice in there, right? Yes, and I also don't like, I make no assumption that I understand the difficulty of getting hired in India or in China or anywhere else. That's why I even specifically said American freedom dollars. I didn't say anything else, because I don't know the difficulty over there. So I'm not speaking to that. I think he is speaking to that. Generally speaking, I think he's kind of talking about that. And I do think there's probably a lot of truth to what he's saying, but also probably not 100% truth to what he is saying.
That fact. They want to establish this thing called top 1% of software developers, because it makes you the most marketable, advertisable segment of people that they can sell their products and courses to. See, I will tell you one thing. Why do you see so much beginner courses peddled around on the YouTube space and not intermediate course or advanced courses? Because the YouTubers know that this is not a good business decision to target such a niche market segment. The number of students in colleges who are in engineering degree, or let's say Bachelor of Computer Science or Master of Science degree, is way higher than the number of people who are in the intermediate and advanced software engineering market segment. That is.
So I do have to interrupt this. This is true. I actually don't believe that. What I mean by that is that he's both correct and incorrect. Uncle Bob makes this conjecture that every 5 years, the pool of software engineers effectively doubles, so that you're always biased towards a younger age in software engineering. And I think this makes sense, because as time goes on, people retire out, people move out, people are promoted into manager. Like, things happen so that the older pool is constantly shrinking, whereas the younger pool is constantly growing. So this actually just generally makes sense, and I agree with that. But I am going to say that the reason why people don't make advanced tutorials is very, very simple. Nobody wants to watch advanced tutorials. It's not just what he wants to say. No, you don't. No. I understand. I understand you guys are all saying this. You guys are all saying this, and you guys are all lying to yourself. That's the thing, is you are lying to yourself. I know you guys want to say this. You are lying to yourself. Bring up your YouTube history and tell me that you watch advanced stuff. Now, there might be 1 or 2 guys in here that do it, but the reality is that all of you guys, when you pick up your when you look at your history, it is not anything but like, this guy gardens with this guy can destroy a garden with just a hoe, and that's all you do, is you just sit there and you look at these very, very simple things. Now, very few of you actually go into the advanced stuff. And the thing is that advanced stuff is always not on YouTube. It is a marketable material that somebody has to buy, typically speaking. And so there's a reason why these things don't like that don't do that. And by the way, all these people saying that they do and they watch Sajin or they watch Casey Moratori and all that, like real talk, you're not learning from those things nearly as much as you think you are. What makes learning really, really easy is that you hear a topic, you hear about it, then you have to go and apply that topic. Watching somebody just do something does not give you the skills. You will learn about it, you will hear about it, and that's good. That means what you could get in 2 hours of watching someone do something super advanced, you could probably get in 10 minutes by just hearing about the topic, knowing that it exists in a super high level view, and then going and doing it yourself. That's why Casey, that's why if you look at Casey Moratori stuff, he does great YouTube videos, but he always points you to these more advanced courses where you actually like build and do things at what is it? Computerenhance.com? Computerenhance.com. Right? And this actually is where like the meat happens. It doesn't happen on YouTube. Anyways, we'll keep going.
This is why they target college students or school students or active job seekers who are freshers in the IT market, because they are the ones that they can sell most of their products to. In our case, courses. Now, as Indians, we are anxious people. We always worry about our future. And these YouTubers bank on this fact that you are scared about your future, about being replaced by AI or Devin. So it makes you the most marketable segment of people that these YouTubers can target and can make the most revenue. So this is something that you should be aware of when you are on the YouTube coding space, because it's very easy to fall into this trap and buy the course on the promise that you will get that Mang job, you will get that 50 LPA job, but it's not gonna happen for you.
So I don't know about that. It's not going to happen for you, right? Like I don't like the inverse negativity, but I do understand what he's trying to say is that as far as I can tell, my limited interaction is that I know that the Indian culture is very difficult when it comes to getting jobs and doing all that, like going to school is a requirement. You can't just get by it's not like America where you can just get by self-learning and that's it. It's just easy peasy, just jump on in, whatever, right? It's like, I know it's a lot harder. And I've heard a lot of opinions about that. I don't like the idea of saying that there's absolutely no way you can do it, right? Because it's like an inverse, hopeless call. I think that you can most certainly do it. But I don't like the idea of taking advantage of people's fear, right? I do think that is, if someone is saying you're going to be replaced if you don't do X, you most certainly should realize that they're trying to sell you something. Absolutely. If someone's banking off your fear, they're trying to sell you something.
And again, they escape the fallback very easily when they establish the fact that it's all dependent on luck. Take a look at this screenshot from Harkirat Singh's video where he's regretting.
Everything is golden handcuffs. Early in career, learning is greater than earning. Initial trauma of having a package goes away after sometimes. Taking care of your health as much as possible. Either you are growing or dying as a software developer. There is no middle ground. Controversial. I largely agree with this. You are either getting better or you're just slowly stagnating and becoming more and more irrelevant, which is okay, because the problem about being irrelevant is that PHP is largely irrelevant, but you have a shit ton of websites that you can just be irrelevant with. You can be very irrelevantly relevant, if you know what I mean. Luck plays an important role. Luck will always play an important role. I mean, luck is a huge part of life just in general. Luck plays an important role. Got him.
Some of the things that he didn't do. And at the end, he very conveniently places the luck factor in it. No disrespect to Harkirat Singh. I'm just making a point. The next thing the YouTubers talk about is money, because of course, everything is about money, according to Neeraj Walia anyway. This is an unfortunate reality, but if you put a magical number like 50 LPA or $10,000 a month on the thumbnail on a YouTube video, it will get views. Unfortunately, this is the landscape of YouTube coding space right now, where any YouTuber, when they see that they are running out of topics to talk about or they are not getting enough views, they will just put a money factor into their thumbnail, because obviously everybody likes money. So they will get views from potential job seekers, active job seekers, or even experienced software developers, or even the non-tech people, because obviously they would like a perspective on the software engineering industry to see how.
I do. I mean, if you put money in a title and say you can earn money, you're going to get people that are extremely transactional also. It's not a good long-term strategy to make videos like that. I think a lot of people that make videos like that have an exceptionally transient audience because they're not going in for anything that you're doing. They want money, and that's it. And so you are the transaction for that. And it's really not a great way to build anything, like at all. Just generally speaking, if you're looking to build a YouTube channel, try not to build things on hyper transactional items. This is another reason why I think a lot of people start off with tutorials and they realize that tutorials don't work, and then they go into other items. And the reason being is that when you do tutorials, you do transactions. And when someone's done doing when someone's done with the tutorial and they don't need you anymore and they can just simply go and build and learn on their own, you become irrelevant as well. Even if your tutorials are great. That's why I think that's why you'll see a lot of people that stop doing it. Because you fall into this weird world where you become you're constantly only getting new viewers, and that's a very weird world to be in.
How much money people make. And even in those videos, they say very generic advice like build projects, learn DSA, do programming in public, or create a LinkedIn network. And again, the top 1% comes into play, which I just explained some time ago. In my opinion, it is a very cheap perspective, and it teaches people that software engineering is all about making money and not about the passion of writing good software and wanting to create good solutions for the industry. It often results in software engineers joining the industry who don't have enough knowledge with them to write good code, and they end up leaving behind a bunch of spaghetti monolith architecture that some poor intern has to maintain. So I
always have a really hard time with this one. I go back and forth on this one. I truly do, which is that can you be in it just for the money? It's funny watching this. You can see yeses and nos. I think you can. And if you're in it just for the money, you could very well come to the conclusion that, hey, if I want to earn more money, I need to continue to grow my skill set. I need to produce better software that people really like. You need to do all these things, right? I think it's possible. Now, me personally, I can't. Whenever I start only doing something for the money, I start getting deeply depressed. Now, at a certain point when I didn't have any money, doing stuff for the money was pretty great. Okay? Let's all just be real. When you don't have money, doing it for the money is not a bad plan. Okay? Can we all agree with that? That's crazy not to say that. And this is why people, they go, what language do I learn to get a job? Notice that they don't say, what language do I learn such that I can build this type of software? They don't ask that. Because they're not, that's not what their focus is. That's not what their ideas are. They're there to win. They're there to do that. And if you're doing that, then hey, guess what? Go learn C#. Go learn Java. You want to get hired quickly? Go learn the languages that people don't want to learn that have massive amounts of industry behind them. Okay? Because reality is that if you are yet another person that knows React server components only, well, guess what? Out of all the React jobs, there's this many that are currently using React server components. You're worthless. You're not going to get hired. I don't care how great you are at Next.js latest version with React server components and can tell me all about it. Most people aren't doing that. Most people that are using React are still using class components. Just letting you know, life isn't as beautiful as you want it to be. Stop calling me out. Class components are great. I know. I think they're great. But nonetheless, I'm just letting you know, there's just this notion that exists that that you shouldn't do it for the money. And I have a hard time with this. And there's a lot of stupid takes on Twitter. I think one time I was called racist for saying that you shouldn't do it for the money. That was a wild one. That was probably about my wildest interaction. And I go back and forth on it, which is if you do it just for the money, there comes a point where it doesn't work anymore. It does work in the beginning, most certainly. When you have no money, money is a really great motivator. But when you have money, money's a bad motivator. And that's where things can get really dicey and really tricky. And it's a really great recipe for burnout, right? It is a really great recipe. There's definitely a ground there, though. I'm not stupid. If today all of you guys quit watching me and I had to go get a real job, guess what? Guess what I'd be motivated by? It wouldn't be motivated by a big old pocket full of passion. It'd be motivated by the fact that I have kids and I have to go and provide for them. And so I need to go get the money, right?
Dislike this fact that YouTubers always peddle this fact that how to get more money from your job, or how to earn this much amount of money, like 50 LPA, 75 LPA, or $10,000 a month. This is a very cheap perspective to have, really. And the brutal reality of it is, you are not gonna make this amount of money. Because if these videos have, let's say, 500,000 views, do you really think that all 500,000 people are making this type of money? It's just view farming, it's just clickbaiting on the highest degree. And again, if this does not work out for you, you will end up blaming yourself, not the YouTuber.
That's an interesting point. I like that point. I do like that point, which is not everybody can have this the 7-figure job, right? There's only going to be a few distinguished engineers. So yeah, I do generally agree with that advice. Why so? Because there can only be so many distinguished engineers. There can only be so many software architects at a company. There can only be so many principal, staff level type engineers. So this is true. There can only be so many positions. And even if you're at a company and you're talented enough to be that level, you may not even get the chance to do it because the projects you work on are so small that they don't dictate this type of engineer. Very, very true. So what do you say? I completely agree with this. I actually completely agree with this take. I do. I do think there are ways that you have, but again, the thing I always disagree. The problem with this take is that there's such strong lines with absolutely no wiggle room. Like, I really like what he is saying. It's just that we got to change it just a little bit, which is, imagine this. Is that if you do a bunch of things, you are doing the research, you are doing the things that are going to make you a better engineer, you are trying to find ways to make your company better, you are doing all the right things to, quote unquote, get higher payment. If you do that long enough, the chances of you getting paid more are going up. Again, luck plays a role, but time plays a role as well. As my mom used to say, the harder I work, the luckier I get. It's just a weird phrase, you know? There just does come a point where you actually help make your own luck as time goes on because you just stuck there long enough. Now, it doesn't always work. And anyone that wants to disagree with my mom, remember, she was a single mom in the 90s doing what's it called? Rentals and physical labor. And so anyone that wants to talk about hardships in the workplace, please, you guys don't know shit, okay? You know literally shit about what it means to have hard ass work. So many people are like, it's just like, dude, you know what she had to deal with? She had to remove a dead Labrador that someone left in a building that got so bad that Health and Human Services got called due to what was happening in the building. Okay, like that's just a different level of work than I am personally used to. Okay, that's not me. Okay, I've had to I've had to look at C++ code bases, arguably kind of like leaving a dead body around, but it's not the same thing as leaving a dead body around, right? It's just literally different. Just categorically different. You know what I mean?
And one thing that these YouTubers conveniently leave out is that the industry is suffering from a skill gap. There are so many software engineers, but not so many skilled software engineers. If you take a look at articles or statistics, you will find out that some companies, or most of the companies, are suffering from this skill problem where they are getting enough software developers to hire from, but they are not getting enough skilled software developers to hire.
Isn't this kind of contradicting his previous point about these 1%ing? Like, isn't that kind of like, you know, quote unquote 1%ing? Isn't that just becoming a really good software engineer with the skills? I mean, I agree with him. I do agree with him. I think there's a huge amount of people that have no capabilities. I do agree with that. And so becoming really, really good helps you get over that. Typically what I think that most people want in life is, I think the software engineering skills look like this, right? Where this is like completely new or very inexperienced or bad, right? Whatever you want to call this term. And this is really, really good, really, really experienced. You know what I'm trying to say over here. And I think a large amount of people fall in the lower side of things, the noob side of things. And then less and less people fall in the good side of things. I drew this curve kind of sucky, right? It should be more like that, right? But you get the idea. And so I think that's what the industry is feeling, is that you keep hiring from this side, and it's really, really hard. Now, being a top 1%, maybe a better term would be the top 60%, right? Or to be the top 40%. Get good enough to at least fall on this side of the line. Yeah, it's called an alpha beta distribution, right? That's what I'm trying to say, is that it's not skills in software engineering is not a normal distribution. It's not a normal distribution. Half aren't, what's it called? Half of them aren't good enough. It's like 3/4 aren't good enough, and 1/4 is good enough. And I don't think that's the thing, is I think there's plenty of room. I think there's a huge amount of room for people to get good and get hired.
From.
Oh, by the way, what I said is he's knocking these people, telling people to become like the top 1%. I do agree. Not everyone can become the top 1%. Only 1% can become the top 1%. But telling people to come really good also fixes this problem, right? This problem is because people aren't trying to become really good. So I see that there's definitely a contention in what is being said here.
So they don't want you to believe in this. They don't want to talk about it. They want you to buy their course and just give them your money and just, blame yourself when it doesn't work out. The next thing that these YouTubers do is trend chasing. And that is one of the most saddest realities of YouTube coding space right now. When ChatGPT was released, almost every YouTuber jumped in and they started fear mongering.
Is that Tech Lead? Tech Lead? Tech Lead? My videos got so much hate because I said, don't worry about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is stupid. You know how many people hate that take? Especially in the beginning? Absolutely hated it. Is that Big Box? Do we got Big Box? Big Box Sweet? First off, Big Box Sweet is hilarious and is a memer. That was the selling point of to watch you more. Let's go. Let's go.
Among the software development community, that we are going to get replaced by AI. Tech with Tim and Fireship. These two are the biggest culprits of this fear mongering because they have a massive segment of audience and they created so many videos on this. Tech with Tim, however,
I do feel like that's a little unfair for Fireship. Fireship doesn't seem to do that. Right? Like when I watch this video, I don't know Tech with Tim, so I cannot say yes or no. Obviously, this titles can be really misleading, right? People do titling just to get someone to click. I get it. Hey, I get it. It's official. ChatGPT 3 is replacing programmers. Remember how bad ChatGPT 3 is? And just remember how much people say ChatGPT was going to take jobs. Do you remember that? Do you remember how bad it, Can you believe the juxtaposition now in your head? Remember Bananums? No, that Bananums is ChatGPT 4.0. Okay, that's different. That's actually brand new still. But I don't know anything about Tech with Tim, so I'm not going to dunk on that. Okay, I have no idea about this. But Fireship, I can defend. Fireship is entertainment and information through what's happening. It's just memes. He's just giving you the jumping point to go and look at something. So to say Fireship is bolstering up fear, I would say is really, really unfair. I think he is just super awesome, and I don't think that's good. And on a side note, I've had dinner with the Fireship, and he's extremely nice and humble person. He is a very, very good guy, and I would be shocked that somebody that we're dunking on him. So I do want to say, I think maybe there's a translation issue going on here. There's a cultural difference that we don't quite catch the memes. He's just a memer, and that's it. I mean, he literally in his last video, he said the Tech Lead was a great YouTuber. He's there to mess with you because that's That's Fireship. Fireship is hilarious. And the thing is I don't even know if Fireship's lying or not, or just making a joke or not. Like, that's the thing that makes it so much fun.
Created a short where he talked about how he was wrong. But anyway.
Oh, that's good.
YouTubers like
But hold on. Wait, isn't that like a positive thing? When we first saw ChatGPT 3, its advanced ability comparatively to anything we've ever seen, I think it was actually a pretty reasonable jump for the average layperson who's not great at programming, who has to look everything up, who doesn't really know how to do a for loop, jumps on ChatGPT 3, and it was genuine magic. It was completely mesmerizing. I would never of course that makes perfect sense. No one's going to argue with that. And so the fact that, what's it called? He just showed right here, this Tim guy, right? Tech with Tim saying, hey, ChatGPT is going to do that, actually then makes a short, actually, no, it won't. To me, that's a good arc, right? That's the classic disillusionment of the hype cycle arc. Is that you start out thinking it's going to be great, and then you realize it's not great, and then you go, oh, yeah.
he talked about how he was wrong. But anyway, YouTubers like us, we have no accountability on our part. When we create videos about something just to bank the most clicks and the click-through rate and the engagement on our videos, we don't think about the fact that whatever we talk about in the video will stay in the viewer's head for a long time. Let's say...
I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people do think about that. I think a lot of people have accountability. I think a lot of people have to be very, very accountable for what they say and do. And you'll notice it. You'll notice it in comments people make. You'll notice it in the comments of videos that people will be like, oh, you just said this. Oh, you just did that. Oh, you did that. You'd most certainly get held accountable. Even this video that you're making, people will hold you accountable if you do some sort of trend. And you should try it, honestly. You should try it. Try doing one of these trendy topics, and you will see people dunk on you because you are being held accountable.
A big YouTuber like Tech with Tim creates a video where he's freaking out about AI, and 6 months later he creates another video where he admits that he was wrong. Do you see that the damage is done already? In those 6 months that the video was up, so many guys, so many people watched it, and now they are scared. You can't undo the scare in people's minds. So there is a lack of accountability on YouTubers' end when they...
I actually see this as I see that as actually as a really positive side of thing, which is that someone learned. I mean, the thing is it's impossible to make content where you're reacting to and trying to reason about the world as it changes in front of you without being necessarily wrong from time to time. Like, there's no world that exists. And if you're willing to take the L afterwards, yeah. He is right in the sense that he is saying, if you do this, there will be some level of people with whom will become afraid and quit, and then they won't go back into programming, and they won't see the fact that you've had a heart change. I think that's fair. I think that is a fair take on what he is saying. But at the exact same time, I don't see how it can possibly exist any other way. Because if someone's doing any sort of real-time reporting, like, again, the jump from no LLMs to LLMs had everybody up in a tussle for a moment because it was actually a wild thing. And you still see it in chat today. People are now saying, but have you seen Claude 3.5? It's the greatest thing ever. Oh, it's so good. And maybe you're right. Maybe that one actually is a fundamental leap that's much, much better. But I still am not sure. Like, I'm not personally buying it. I'm not personally thinking that that's going to happen. I think that it's largely going to be just an iteration that's slightly better, but it's still iteration on the same island. It's just better inside of the same inaccurate place that does not actually work for programming, but can get close.
Try to chase trends and they just blurt out their opinions out in the YouTube space because it affects real people. And I think we should have a little responsibility on our side and we should do our own research before we decide to make a video about anything. So the next thing that these...
I'm going to do one more pause here. I do think telling other people what type of content they should and should not do is main character syndrome. Just because somebody makes different content than you, I don't think you should be upset about that. I do see this, and just saying, hey, you shouldn't be allowed to do this. I mean, it's very hard for me to say someone should or should not be. Like, I mean, there's obvious, like, please don't take this in some stupid direction. There's always the internet that's like, oh, and says something illegal. Obviously, don't do illegal things. And even if they were legal, still don't do stupid things. But if someone wants to do certain type of content, maybe they just want to make beginner tutorials. They like making beginner tutorials. That's what they want to do. Effing let them do it. Even if there's a million other ones, go for it. Go nuts. Make them all you want. Like a good example of that is, what's his name? Typecraft. Typecraft started doing, Typecraft YouTube right here. Typecraft Dev. There you go. He started doing YouTube tutorials on Vim and stuff. And guess what? At first, I already had Vim tutorials. Why would he make a Vim tutorial, right? Well, no, he wanted to make it. Go for it. Do it. Love it. Run it. Crush it. Be awesome at it. And guess what? He is like by far one of the best people when it comes to this area of YouTube because he did it and he did it his way. I'm not going to sit here and gatekeep him. He can do whatever he wants to do. Enjoy his videos. Right? Like, why? I didn't even look at the latest tweet. Anyways, bashing PHP. I mean, bash PHP all you want. For those that can't remember 5 minutes ago, I did just get done recommending PHP. Am I a big YouTuber that recommends PHP, baby?
YouTubers do is bash PHP because it is the cool thing to do.
Yeah, it's easy.
If you are a YouTuber and you didn't bash PHP,
I'm surprised that I didn't get thrown in this one because I think I have one called PHP Sucks.
Are you even a YouTuber? Take a look at this thumbnail. There's this guy named Stefan Mischuk, and it
Why is Laravel not used in big development projects? I don't know.
seems like he has a problem with Laravel, with how MNCs don't use it. And saying that Laravel or PHP is not a good tool to create scalable applications, it's like saying that this nail cutter is not a good nail cutter because I can't use this on a rhinoceros.
Also, I do want to point out it has 156,000 views. How many developers watch here? Whoopsies. Hold on. Let's go right here. How many people here? Michael Reeves, right? How many people watch a Michael Reeves video? 6.7 million. Like, you got to also remember the scale. 150,000 is probably less than the number of people that use Laravel on a daily basis. So does that even, is that even, I would say this, that anybody who's looking to watch a video about why you shouldn't use PHP was not going to use PHP anyways. These type of videos typically are only ones in which, in which attract people who want to confirm what they think. I do want something to be very, very obvious here. I am not trying to dunk on this person. I think he's made a lot of good points, and I think he's made some bad points altogether. And I think this could also be good points, or his bad points might be good points if I lived in India and I understood the world that he is speaking from. Likely, I don't understand the world he is speaking from, and so I'm probably missing some of the things, just as he missed things from Fireship, right? You know how there's the inversion, you know what I mean? Like how I don't understand him at the same time he doesn't understand me, right?
PHP is not a good tool to create scalable applications. It's like saying that this nail cutter is not a good nail cutter because I can't use this on a rhinoceros. See, PHP is a tool that was created for developers to get up and running very quickly, to create small applications, lightweight applications, but it was not intended to be used in production environments where the user base is about 50 million users active every day. So
it most certainly was not created that way because there's no such thing as 50 million users. But today, there is enough PHP backends where it actually is doing those things. Laughs and Facebook. But that's the thing is that, Facebook also has a bunch of C++ servers and all that kind of stuff. Facebook is a very complicated thing. Today, PHP is pretty dang good. right? PHP is pretty fast comparatively to where it once was. And so also don't compare PHP to what it was, compare it to what it is today. I think PHP's honest biggest hurdle is that people still look at PHP as PHP 5.2, 5.3.
Just because you think that PHP is not scalable doesn't make that opinion correct. Certain tools are made for certain demands that it meets. Just because...
Did he just accidentally self-own himself? Yes. PHP scales probably better than you realize.
You can throw Java at every problem doesn't mean that Java is the best programming language to ever exist. And also, it also pisses me off because so many of us developers start with PHP because PHP is very simple to learn and get started with web dev if you are looking to get into it.
That's what I started with. PHP was
Where's
my
the
first web
gratitude
dev.
among these YouTubers? Why don't they ever admit that PHP was the first technology that they learned and that is what got them into the industry and that's what made them money? Why is it always that when YouTubers switch their technologies to a better one, quotes better one, they always bash the previous technology that they were working on? See, even today...
I will throw this out there. I will throw this out there, which I think is a reasonable statement to make, which is if you were doing something and you did this for a long period of time, and you realized that using language A, using PHP, was not as good as, say, using B, it would only make sense that you would say, don't use A, use B. I think the bashing is natural if you truly think something is better. Now, you could think something is better for the wrong reasons, absolutely. But that doesn't mean that saying, hey, don't learn A, learn B, doesn't make perfect sense. And now often the problem is that you can't give the entirety of the context for why B is better than A. So it comes out as PHP sucks. Because someone's not going to read this point where it's just like, well, actually, if you compare PHP to Go, there are several issues in which PHP is actually lackluster in comparison to Go. I would first like to submit to you, like, no one's going to read that, right? No one's going to read anything about, like, that's not going to work. What people are going to see is PHP sucks. And I know people say they don't want that to be true, but everybody reacts to that, and that's how it works. And everyone that says they don't want it to be true are the same Andys who are also liking and engaging with this. Don't pretend you're better. Don't act like the French. The French poop too.
I work on PHP and I will never say such a thing to PHP because I owe PHP. I think I owe Taylor Otwell a lot of money because I made a lot of money from Laravel applications. So I will never say such a thing because it demotivates people from learning PHP. And just because it's the cool thing to do doesn't mean that I will join them. Then the next trend that these YouTubers have is the regret.
Oh, by the way, I do think that learning PHP right now is actually pretty trendy. I think people really like PHP. I think PHP is on the rise. I think PHP Kings are going to happen. I think it's happening. And I think Laravel is a huge reason why.
Regret videos. And if you search on YouTube, there are so many videos that is titled things that I regret I didn't learn when I was starting software engineering, or things that I wish that I knew before I started learning software engineering. And these videos often convey this message to the viewer.
By the way, putting the word "an honest video" in your video makes it seem so dishonest. I don't know what it is. I don't like to use the phrase, "I'm not gonna lie." It's just like, why would you lie? Why you lying, liar? So you saying you lie, liar?
That software engineering is just a race to get to a certain point. And let me tell you the reality, it's not. Software development is a journey that you go through. We often start something having no idea how everything works in that environment. We figure things out midway, and we create a certain set of rules around ourselves to keep our journey ongoing. That is exactly how software engineering works. And that is the message that is conveyed to the user. That if the YouTuber you are watching is regretting some things that they didn't do in their lives, then the viewer shouldn't get to regret those things either. And they should just basically buy the thing that the YouTuber is selling.
But I would also assume that if you say, hey, here's 3 regrets that I have, that it can also be a really good thing, right? Like if you can avoid someone else's regrets, that could be a good thing. Hey, I was super bullish on Rust. super bullish on Rust and absolutely using Rust for multiple years. I wouldn't say I regret it, but I certainly say I probably wouldn't use it nearly as much as I wanted to use it. I wouldn't call that a regret, but I would most certainly say that learning is often a rear view mirror activity. And if you can look in someone else's rear view mirror, I think you'll save yourself a lot of heartache. Taking advice from an influencer is dumb, in my opinion. No offense. Don't worry, Gipper. I'm not done being offended, but I ain't offended by you. Don't worry, you're good people there, Gipper.
This is very sinister approach to marketing. And when these tactics don't work for these YouTubers, they employ another tactic. It's called scare marketing. So they use layoffs, they use AI, they use ChatGPT, they use Devin as a tool to scare you into buying their courses. Take a look at this YouTuber. So if you have watched this video, this YouTuber is basically saying to his audience that Devin will replace a certain kind of developers.
I mean, I technically read it as human software engineers really gone by 2029, Devin, AI, or a joke? Clown. I don't know. I can't really tell. I guess I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But I would personally, you don't want to use, Devin is like really a joke. Do I mind that people write their own DSA courses? No, I think that's a good move. I literally have a free DSA course, right? I've mentioned it a cajillion times, Front-End Masters, free DSA course. Why? Because I think DSA is great, and Front-End Masters was willing to let me have my course on there, which they typically charge for free, because they said, hey, that's a really good thing to do, and maybe we should just do that. DSA courses are scam mostly. See, I have no idea because I haven't taken other people's DSA courses. Like, real talk, I haven't taken other people's DSA courses, so I actually don't know. I really don't know. But I will say that I'm just not fundamentally against this. Because at the end of the day, if somebody wishes to be able to do YouTube full-time, they cannot simply make money by YouTube ads. They have to make money outside of YouTube ads. Typically for software engineering, that is done by selling some sort of course, some sort of something. This is why I have courses on boot.dev. It allows me to continue to do things without having to go, like, it allows me to do something full time. That's just, it's like the only way to do it. You're not in the same train with the YouTubers mentioned in this video. Yeah, sure, I'm not in the same train. I'm not trying to be in the same train, and I really am trying to be like nice about these things, but I still want to like talk through this, which is I also don't want to be the person that just judges somebody super quick. I don't know any of these people, and it's hard for me just to like dunk on person after person, because I think sometimes you don't know what the person's heart is all about, and maybe, just maybe, they think they're doing something good. Maybe they think that, hey, I really am worried about AI, and I want you to become better at doing at software engineering. Here's the course I've built to try to make you better. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know their reasoning, right? I'm sure there's scammers. There's always going to be scammers, but I would like to try to also be good about it.
And if you want to be the kind of developers that Devin can't replace, then very conveniently he places a banner at the bottom of his video. So you are marketed this course of a fake pretense that Devin will replace you. Also, I covered a video on why Devin won't replace you. The link should be up here or somewhere. I think here it should appear. Anyway,
there it is.
And the other thing about this regret videos is I see a lack of gratitude among these developers. See, 7 years of software development, the journey that I went through, you won't go through it. It's very unique to myself.
Yeah,
and
fair.
I often get asked that if I could change something in my journey, what would it be? And I always say that there is nothing that I would change.
I wouldn't even like to be able to give, I was just thinking about this yesterday. If I could go back in time and give myself advice, what would I say to myself? I would say nothing. I would not want to alter the trajectory of my life based on what I think I understand now. Like, that's a whole different world that exists. Buy Bitcoin, of course. Buy Bitcoin, sure. Fair, sure. Go buy a bunch of Bitcoin and don't lock it into a wallet. Fair. Buy NVIDIA, yeah, good enough of an ending. Same, yeah. It's so easy to forget that you are the sum of your decisions, and that the bad things that have happened to you can also be one of your strong points in life. Just because something happened to you that's bad does not mean it's bad forever. It can be something that is so good for you. I think we live in a culture where, like, if it's uncomfortable, it's bad. If it's not enjoyable, it's bad. If it's not all these things, it's bad. And I would argue that sometimes the bad can be used as good later on. Not all, obviously, again, stupid internet, take all things to a natural conclusion and just say all bad things are good. That's not what I'm saying. Don't be stupid.
Change. If I had to start over, I would do it exactly the way that it happened for me in my journey, because it makes me the person I am today. And these YouTubers saying that they regret not learning things, they regret not knowing things, is a bad message to software developers, juniors basically, where they are running around in a frenzy trying to learn everything that is just possible to them.
So I will now contradict myself. Just hearing him say that, I do wish I would have spent more time on the command line, right? I wish I wouldn't have been doing it so much later in my career. It was like 10 years into my career that I started becoming more concerned about my understanding of computers and all that. I wish I would have done that sooner, but again, if I would have done it sooner, would I be where I am at now? Right? Like, that's the problem. How do you ever reconcile those two things, right? I wish I knew now. I can't remember, dude. I know there's some words in there that I'm missing. Anyways, you wouldn't be where you are. That's the problem. I wouldn't be where I was. And so that's why I don't want to recommend it. But if you're new, if you were new, I would recommend being okay with the command line, right? Like, that's how I look at that type of information, which is not, I regret not doing these things. I would think it's advantageous to learn these things soon. Does that make sense? Do you see how those two things work together? It's like, I don't regret it, but I would recommend it. I did not do it early in my career, and I am still doing catch up today. So, there you go. That's what I'm trying to say.
See, there are certain things that are available in the market that even I won't learn in my career. Let's say Ruby on Rails. This is something that I will probably never learn because
Fair.
I know Laravel and I know Node.js, Express.js basically.
Fair.
So my progression is going towards TypeScript. But I won't create a video saying that I regret not learning Ruby on Rails. Or for example, if you...
The thing is, you may not actually even know that, right? Because what happens if you use Ruby on Rails and you think it's actually the greatest thing you've ever used in your lifetime and you cannot believe all the years you wasted somewhere else? Wouldn't you say, hey, man, I really wish I would have? Right? Like that. I mean, the hard part about saying that you would never do that is you might feel some level of regret. I don't think you should, but you could still feel that because you may not have been able to, again, learning Ruby on Rails, you might have changed your mind completely because you had the experience. And if you didn't have the experience, maybe you would not have learned Ruby on Rails. And you may have just avoided it, or when you learned it, you may have switched and not gone deep enough because it didn't solve the problems you now understand are problems. Right? It's one of those hard things where it's like, it's super hard to know those type of things. Be careful about what you will and won't do in the future. You change quickly. You change very, very quickly. You both stay the same and change very fast, and it's difficult.
If you watch my previous videos, you will see this green wall, which I use as the background in my...
I mean, it is green, but a lot of yellow in that green. I mean, it's definitely a lime. Maybe a fair statement to say lime.
Videos. I will never create a video titled that I regret my previous setup and now I like my new setup, the new background that I'm using now. Software development is a journey. You know some things when you start this journey, you find out things midway, and you create these rules around yourselves to keep the journey ongoing. And the final thing that I would like to say to you is that YouTubers don't know what they're saying. Nobody knows what they're doing. Everything is just speculation. Everything is just opinion.
Okay, not everything is opinion. Not everything. People do know what they are saying. Like that. You got to be careful on that one. Because this also spawns that stupid meme of junior engineer being like, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing," pointing towards senior engineer that's a Chad saying, "I don't know what I'm doing either," which is false. They do know what they're doing. They do know what they're doing. They do know how to actually do something. They are effective, and you should never tell somebody that you will be ineffective for your entire lifetime. You do understand stuff. You do understand stuff, and that's good, because or else our life would suck. Right? Like, our life would actually suck if you had to just never know anything. Ugh. Yeah.
Influencers like Neeraj Walia or Code with Harry or Tech with Tim or tiff in tech are just running around spreading their opinions like it's a fact and basically moving their audience in a way that they want. I'm not going to reject the fact that there are good YouTubers out there. The number one YouTuber.
I will say, though, that like just because someone gives opinions does not mean they're trying to manipulate an audience. Some people are trying to give opinions, and they could actually be, from their point of view, doing what they think is good. Right? I think that is completely reasonable take. I don't want to, like, I would really recommend not being so hard on people. Like, you don't actually know what they're attempting to do. Now, there are scammers. I don't want to deny scamming. It's just, I dislike continuous dunking.
But that I like is the prime time.
Okay, I mean, he does have really great views. That is, I mean, he might actually be correct on this. That feels right. That's probably the right way to go about it. You know what I mean? Can we all agree? His opinions are actually gospel, and you should take these opinions.
I love this guy.
Let's go.
He speaks a little too much sense, and I think this is the kind of YouTuber that we should follow. And also, the prime time loves India, and India loves you as well, my
Dude,
guy.
I
So
do
keep
love
doing
India.
what you're doing. And another YouTuber that I highly
Hey, that's awesome. I do love India, okay? I do. Some of my best colleagues have come from there and have been absolutely fantastic. Good, hard working people. I can never feel bad about that. That feels good. I'm glad that my appreciation comes through and somebody potentially on the other side of the world feels that appreciation. Paid actor. He's not a paid actor. This is the most bro. Imagine actually having a YouTube video where you get people to dunk on other YouTube devs and you pay them to do that just to promote you at the end. Like the 5,000 IQ that is that. Like, dude, just like imagine just imagine what that would take. It's just so good. I played you all like fools. Yeah, imagine. What would that look like? Sounds like a sponsor. It's not even 4D chess. That's like 5D chess.
highly respect is a healthy programmer, because this guy was one of the first few people.
I have yet to watch his videos. One's in the chat if you watch this guy's videos. I see some ones. Okay. Yeah, I've not watched any of his videos, but I am curious.
Who pointed out the fact that AI is used as a tool for educational institutions to sell courses. So anyway, but at the end of the day, if you want to buy a course, if you like your favorite influencer that much, go for it, I guess. But be careful, because you are sold the fact that you will land your dream job. And I'm just saying that might not be the case.
That's good.
So,
that's a good ending. That's a really good ending.
Be careful, pay attention, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.
I do fully agree with what he said at the end, which is absolutely. By the way, this is one of my favorite videos I ever made. What's it called? You cannot learn JavaScript in under 2 weeks. Don't get sold a bill of goods like that. Don't get sold that just because you learn or take a course or learn a specific technology, you're going to go get a job. There's absolutely no guarantees in life. And even if, And even if you could theoretically do that, and you had a course that you could do that, if everybody did it, it would become irrelevant quickly. It's just like, if everybody buys NVIDIA, you can no longer buy NVIDIA to make money. It's just like the classic, it's the classic selling of the shovels conundrum. I fell for that when I was younger. I mean, everybody falls for that. You know how many books I bought on game programming when I was a young kid? And they were all actually really good. I actually really enjoyed all my, I actually really did enjoy all the books I bought and all the things I learned from it. I did learn things, and I used that. I will say this, is that even if you buy a program that's good, that has some good and some crap, so we'll call it a half scam, right? It's not. It has something to it. You still read stuff, and you still took stuff away from it. Now, this is good. This is a really good thing. So even if you are getting quote unquote sold a half-baked good, you still got something out of it. And I do think that there is something to that. And I think that, like, for me, I got, like, one of the books I bought as a very broke college student was C++ game programming by building a first-person shooter. And about a quarter way through the book, you could not compile the examples at all. Like, they're just simply broken code and all that. But I kept going through the book, and I kept fixing things, and I kept making them better. And I was able to actually learn quite a bit. Even though that this thing was, for all intents and purposes, pretty disgusting, I still was able to actually take it somewhere and start understanding and becoming better. So it's like, do I want to completely say that if it's not perfect, it's terrible? No. Take what you can get from learning. I just want to be careful about that. I don't want to be too much dunking. I do agree that there are YouTubers, there are people that will scam you. And Sid, I think that's great that you saying these things. I would just be careful. Be careful about saying you will never do something. Be careful about you will never this. Be careful about all those things, because at some point you are going to change your mind and you're going to have to eat crow. And the more you say you won't do those things, the more your crow you're going to have to eat. And I would prefer to eat as little bit of crow as possible. I'd prefer just to simply say, hey, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to change in the future, but I am going to probably change. The end. Well, like today, I think Zig is really, really great. In fact, I think Zig is so good that I think that if you're going to learn, I think that if you're going to do C+ or C, you should just probably learn Zig. You're going to avoid a huge amount of the C headaches that involve, especially with the make and all that crap. You're just going to have a nice tool that really works. You can interact with any C library, and you effectively get all the learnings of C without a lot of the downfalls, right? So it's like, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Why not both? Because time is limited. I know it's like a joke. Time is limited. But C is everything. I know, but if you know Zig, you know C. You just don't have to deal with null pointers in Zig, because Zig effectively protects you from it. And time is limited. Yes, time is very, very null my ass. I know Go doesn't even protect you from that. And so it's like one of those things where, I think Zig is a great experience. But in 2 years, am I going to still say that Zig is the best? I don't know. Maybe I'll say, hey, I don't like Zig as much. Are there 50 game engines in Zig yet? No, there's not yet, but maybe get deleted. Yeah, get deleted, Melky. What did he say? Null my ass. He's a Go programmer. Let him have null his ass, okay? He just does. Anywho, I really did. So Zig is the new Haskell? No, because Haskell, you don't write anything practical. You write practical things in Zig. And so it's a little bit different. I really like this video, though. I really do like this video. Be careful. I think, if anything, it just re-highlights the fact that having strong opinions, even if they're quote-unquote the right ones in the time, can be difficult. And they can still be difficult for people. They can still cause problems. You should always be mindful of what you say. I'm trying to be less reactionary in a sense. I'm trying. I don't know. I don't really subscribe to this phrase, strong opinions loosely held. I think you should have strong opinions, and I think you should hold on to things pretty strongly. Like, you should be able to fight for it and really do it. Strong opinions until better evidence is provided might be a better way to say that phrase. I know it's not as good. I know it's not as like sweet to be able to say, but you know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, hey, the name is the Primogen.